Hello, everyone. My name is Stephen Stewart. I'm the founder of a brand new company called Metal Energy. Very proud to present this latest opportunity, which is aimed at meeting our green energy metal demands. That primarily includes nickel. This is the ore group's vehicle to gain exposure directly to nickel, but nickel is often found with copper and PGEs, especially in the districts that we'll be looking. And I'll explain more about that soon. But as I said, it is called Metal Energy. The symbol is MERG, merge. It'll be listing on the Toronto Venture Exchange in just about 30 days. So we're very excited about that. It is done its seed round, about $1.25 million Canadian. We'll be doing a IPO round very soon. Details to follow on that, and that will close contemporaneous with its listing. Let's just say we're aiming for around Labor Day. We've got two assets, and both are permitted, and both are in established, well-known nickel jurisdictions. One is very advanced, and the other is grassroots. It's very difficult to find high-quality nickel assets. We believe we've got two very interesting opportunities, especially when you consider the valuation that this is going to be coming out at. So let's get started. Here are the forward-looking statements. Very briefly, Metal Energy is it's the sixth company as a part of the ORE Group, where we're a group of individuals who focus on discovery, delineation, finance, operation of opportunities to give our group and our shareholders exposure to very specific macro thesis on metals. And again, Metal Energy is primarily focused on nickel, while QC Copper is on copper, and others on gold and uranium. But these are very carefully chosen commodities, very carefully chosen jurisdictions. And we all leverage the group in itself to lower our unit costs and gain exposure to a deeper pool of individuals than any single junior on its own would otherwise be able to have. That's why we create the ORE Group, and Metal Energy is our latest. Again, these are our target metals here on the elements chart: nickel, copper, platinum, palladium, cobalt. Those are the primary elements, but sometimes you never know what you're going to find. But we are in the THOMPSON nickel belt of Manitoba. We're also in the mid-continental rift area of Ontario. So that's typically what you're going to find. Why do we want exposure to nickel? Because first of all, nickel is a very deep market. Its primary use today is for stainless steel. It's a huge, huge, deep liquid market. However, why people are gaining a lot more interest in nickel, and I think you're going to see a lot more nickel opportunities on the horizon in the coming years, is because of the electrification. Nickel effectively goes into batteries. So this slide is meant to indicate here, we believe there's a super cycle for nickel, copper, uranium, and other suite of green energy metals, which are really meant to supplant fossil fuels. So if this mandate to reduce carbon and, of course, fossil fuels is going to hold true, and we believe that it will over time, there's just no other way to maintain our way of life without a massive investment in these metals. These call it green energy metals to get away from fossil fuels. There's just no other equation. Renewable energy on its own, meaning solar and wind, just won't cut it. We're going to need uranium to produce the energy. We're going to need copper to transport it, and nickel is going into the batteries, specifically into the mobile batteries, electric vehicles, but other energy storage solutions. That's a very simplistic way of looking at it, but that's our broad thesis, and we're excited to gain exposure to it. Nickel demand, I largely just covered that. Really, it's also a supply story. There are a few assets out there that are in the junior mining market. They are in a very, very low grade. You'll notice 0.2, 0.3% nickel. Those are big open pit types deposit. We are specifically going after grade. Voisey's Bay is grade. High grade nickel sulfide deposits are extremely rare and hard to find. That is our task. Obviously, Voisey's Bay is the most prevalent of that. That was a huge success back 20 years ago plus. There hasn't really been any other significant deposits in a new camp. I think that's what we're going to be looking for in the mid-continent, our Strange project. But nonetheless, there are laterites. Just to sort of give some clarification, laterite deposits are quite different in how they're structured. They are not structured, but how they're deposited. In order to upgrade a laterite deposit into a class 1 nickel product, it requires a lot of energy. It's green and it's sort of self-defeating. to be producing laterite style deposits into class 1 nickel. It's just more expensive. So nickel sulfide deposits, which you get in these colder climates or not tropical climates, is the type of deposits that we'll be looking for. And of course, Canada is well suited to that. With the Thompson, with Sudbury, we're well known. And of course, with Voisey's Bay, we're very well known for our nickel deposits. And that's exactly where Metal Energy will be looking. So here's our corporate overview. Today, we have 44 million shares outstanding, no debt. I am the single largest shareholder. We've got 2.5 million shares, $1.25 million in cash, 0 options and warrants. We're going to be completing an IPO financing. We're going to be doing it at 20 cents. It's going to be closing contemporaneous with our listing when we'll be under the symbol MERG. Investment highlights. I'm going to fast forward to the next slide, which is going to zero in on where our actual assets are. On the right-hand side, you can see our flagship project. It's called the Manibridge. Manibridge, of course, is half Manitoba and half Falconbridge. This, very similar to what QC Copper was, this is an ex-Falconbridge mine. We acquired it from a uranium company who wasn't focused on it. And it used to be a fairly sizable mine operated by Falconbridge. They produced 1.3 million tons in the 70s, very good grade, almost 3% nickel. That's the type of grade we were interested in. It was an underground mine. There's a lot of data on it. We're in the process of compiling all of this data, both the historic data, but also drilling that's been done, call it in the modern era in the last 10 years. We're going to be coming out with our new model. Hopefully we can put out a resource on it. And then of course, we're going to be looking to drill, expand both on strike, also at depth. And then there's also discovery opportunities within the Thompson Belt, and we'll get into that. The second asset we have is called the Strange Project. It is right in the mid-continental rift area, which effectively means it's where the historic 2 continents pulled itself apart, and within that crack up came this magmatic ore body. And so there are other deposits that are analogous, would be Lundine's Eagle deposit, Talon's Tamarack deposit. These are very high-grade nickel sulfide deposits, and that's the geologic environment that we'll be exploring for in Strange. So just to sort of set the table, the Manibridge is a former producing mine, brownfield environment, much lower risk, high confidence in our ability to hit ore grade nickel over ore widths in a very established jurisdiction. The project's permitted. It's on the highway, very ready to go. A Strange Project also is permitted, also is on the highway, but it's an earlier stage grassroots project aimed at making, we're swinging for the fences on the Strange. There's no other way to describe it. We're looking for a brand new camp. And I'll explain how we found it. So this is a little bit about Manibridge. As you can see, this right here is what's called the Thompson Nickel Belt. Vale is the large player here. They recently announced a $150 million investment into their flagship Thompson mine, which is just up at the north end of the belt here. As you can see, this trend here has just mines, historical and in operation, and there's all sorts of interesting activities going on here. It is a world-class nickel belt. And we are just on the southern end of it. Again, this is where the Falconbridge deposit is here. There's another mine called the Bucko, which is also coming back online. But as you can see, it's 1.3 million tons historic, almost 3% nickel if you add in the copper credit there. And they only mined it to a depth of about 380 meters in certain sections. These styles of deposits are what's called strings, or pearls on strings, and they come in lenses. And we have a great deal of confidence that the lenses extend at depth, but also laterally. So this is also very high grade, high tenor nickel, which is easy for processing, and exactly the type of nickel deposits which can be upgraded and made into class 1 nickels for the usage in batteries, particularly batteries in cars. This is an example. This project not only did have production, but it was drilled as recently as 2019. You can see pretty interesting intersections here, some narrow grade, narrow veins over with excellent grades, but also some wider intersections there with decent grades. So it really does have, let's call it a low risk in terms of being able to expand it. We know the nickel's there. We just have to look in new places. So on the west side of this slide here, and this is sort of looking west, you can see that this is the area that was mined out. But this area here is completely open, and as well as open at depth here. So there's a lot of mineralization yet to be discovered on this particular project that has not yet been tested, and that's what we'll be doing. and we certainly aim to get the drills on this project by the end of 2021. So our objectives on Manibridge: compile historic data, look to get a resource, do some expansion drilling, and see if we can put a sizable resource on here and make a discovery. Outside of this, they call it the strike, along strike and at depth, there's opportunity to make a new discovery, which could always be game-changing, especially when you're in a mature world-class nickel district. Our second project, very quickly, it's called the Strange Project. It is just about 40 kilometers west of Thunder Bay. It's on the highway, access 12 months of the year. This is permitted to drill test, and we have a thesis on it, and it's very simple for us to test if we're right or wrong. You can see this is the mid-continental rift area. There's the legal, as I mentioned before, the Eagle Mine owned by Lundin and the Duluth complex. All sorts of well-known nickel, copper, PGE deposits in this neighborhood, and it's exactly what we're going to be looking for. I'll fast forward here towards our geophysics, and this is exactly why we got attracted. Now, everybody always has to be cautious of a geophysical play, and this is a grassroots geophysical play, which we believe we can test, and the test is very simple. This area here is a magnetic feature. It's about 500-600 meters depth. And what we need to do is we need to test the age of this rock. If it is of the age of 1.8 billion years old, then we know this is in fact one of the mid-continental rift area, and very likely to contain nickel sulfides, much like the other deposits in the area. If the rock is younger, well, it's less likely that this will be a new discovery of a camp. So that is the bet. We think that we can drill test this very simply, very cheaply, probably for $300,000 to $400,000. 2 to 3 holes we can poke in there and discover and do some radiometric tests and understand the age of this deposit. If it is that age, then I believe we're on to the early stages of a new nickel sulfide district right in the heart of Canada. So that's the attraction for us. It's a high risk, high reward grassroots play. I think the market is just about ready for a grassroots exploration. We're going to need it if we're going to meet these nickel demands and green energy demands. So this is the type of project, high risk, high reward, very easy to test, interesting project. It was developed and brought to us by Inco geologists who have been retired for some time, but were scouring the earth looking for new deposits quite like this. They found it, we met, I acquired it, and now we're going to drill test it. Largely covered that, but these are the next steps. So in the very near term, we will be launching our IPO financing. We're doing this at a very attractive valuation for investors to participate in the IPO. Right now, we're sub $10 million. You can look at, there's other comparable companies out there with, I believe, not as interesting of an asset package, certainly when you combine the brownfields environment as well as the potential significant upside of a new discovery on our Strange project. We offer a very compelling risk reward and risk mitigation strategy. We're going to be listing, it says here in July, that's probably not going to be the case. It's probably going to, I suspect we'll have all of our approvals in place by August and look to actually list in September when everybody gets back from summer. That's the plan. Both projects are drilled. The Strange project can be drilled very quickly, the Manibridge as well, although there's more moving parts on that particular drill program, but our objective will be to have 2 drill programs within Metal Energy by the end of 2021. I've referenced a few of these companies here, but this is the sort of market cap one can expect when it gets onto an interesting nickel sulfide deposit or something within the area, such as Talon Metals. As I said, it's a $500 million play. It's exactly the very same style of deposit as Eagle. That is what the Strange project is going after, these high-grade underground deposits, very successful there. Canada Nickel is a large large open pit, very low grade, but sizable deposit in a good area. And so there's there's a lot of room for us to grow when we are currently valuing ourselves at sub $10 million. Obviously, we've got work to go, but the Manibridge is a very established resource, which we think we can come out and update it, put into the 43-101 regime pretty soon. So we could see some very good value appreciation, especially as the narrative for nickel juniors increases. This is our board for now. You're going to see that expand in the very near term in terms of management team to get out there and execute our plans. But that's it for now. So here is my contacts there. If anybody's interested in participating in the IPO financing, it will go very quickly. I assure you, we're going to be raising about $3 to $4 million. Details will be coming out on that very shortly. And I thank you for your time.